Hello and welcome to the Vinyl Sanctuary. My name is Christian and I hope that you will join me in taking refuge in records. So this is my first video for the channel, so I'm really excited to get started, and I'm going to be ranking the albums from the year of my birth, 1982. But before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you very much indeed to everybody who watched my introductory video to the channel and who have taken the time to subscribe and to leave me some really kind comments. They truly meant the world to me. I thoroughly enjoyed reading through them. I've tried to respond to them all as well. And I just wanted to say that it means such a great deal to have such a warm welcome. I just want to do my little bit for the vinyl community and to show my passion for music. So I really felt that it was just what I was looking for in terms of helping me to find my feet, to gain a little bit of confidence with creating these videos, and then hopefully we can just go on that journey from there, and I can continue to produce things which are of interest and which will educate and entertain. So without any further ado, I will get into the rankings. So I've got 26 albums to show today. One of them is an outlier, and I'll explain that very shortly. I'm going to begin with that album. Of the 25, the top five will be ranked properly in terms of least favourite to favourite, 5 to 1. They're a pretty solid five that I don't really feel are going to move anytime soon. They are records that I come back to a great deal and are certainly my favourites for the year. The others in there, I would say I like equally, although they are from varying genres and different places in terms of art and creative statements and that type of thing, but I really do enjoy them all a great deal. The only other thing to mention is that obviously it's my list, so if there's any albums that you feel ought to have been in there, or if there's any that you would like to recommend, then please do get in touch in the comments and let me know. There is an album that I do love from 1982, which is Hex Induction Hour by The Fall, but I don't own a copy of it on vinyl, so therefore I've not been able to include it. I only wanted to show and mention albums that I do happen to have in the collection so that I could physically show them off and give you guys something to look at. So I hope that makes sense. So yeah, apart from that, I'm conscious I've got a lot to get through and I don't want the video to be rivaling the length of The Godfather or Gone with the Wind. So I will try to work pretty quickly. If there's anything anecdotal that pops into my head while I'm showing the record off, then I will do so. Any trivia or any facts or anything, but I'll just show the record, say a little bit about it, maybe mention my favourite track, and then move on to the next one. So we'll get started. So the first album is The Outlier, and the reason being is that it was originally released in 1981 under the title of Skins and Heart, and that album was then re-released for the international market in 1982 with different artwork, an altered track sequence, etc., and it came out simply as The Church by the band The Church. So there's the artwork for it, which I think is really striking, and then on the rear we've got some really cool portraits there of the band. So yeah, so the version I own here is the international version for the reasons I've just said. I think it's a superb album. If you're into the likes of power pop, college rock, jangle pop, psychedelia, that type of thing, then I would really encourage you to check this band out from Australia. So favourite tracks here I would say are The Unguarded Moment, which is my favourite Church song, full stop. I would even put that above Under the Milky Way, which was the big global hit the band had a good few years after this one. Chrome Injury is another favourite, and I love the opening track as well, For a Moment with Strangers. So that's The Church by The Church. Next we have A Kiss in the Dream House by Susie and the Banshees. Love the artwork here. I just think it's so striking. Beautiful use of colour. Fantastic band shot there in the background with their eyes closed and the arrows, and then you've got Susie front and centre. I love the use of the font as well for the title of the album and for the band name. Then on the back we've got a blue theme with Susie there looking rather resplendent. So favourite tracks here, Slow Dive, which I believe is where the band Slow Dive take their name from. They were a shoegaze outfit from Oxfordshire, I believe, who came out a little after Susie. So that's the closing track on the album, Slow Dive. I love Melt as well, with the exclamation point on there, so that needs to be mentioned. And the opening track, Cascade, I enjoy a lot as well. So, yeah, Susie and the Banshees, they're a kaleidoscopic band, and that pun is very much intended. They had that, obviously, the album Kaleidoscope, which was released before this. They're just a band of many different colours, different musical traits and qualities, and they're sort of musical magpies, kind of take from all over the show really, and have just created such a unique sound and a really beguiling body of work. So a band that I do come back to a lot, Susie and the Banshees. Next up, I've got Yazoo with Upstairs at Eric's, another really striking cover there. And that's Yazoo being Alison Moyet and Vince Clarke. Vince Clarke, very famously, of course, having been a founding member of Depeche Mode, went on to form Mirage with Andy Bell. He's just an absolutely incredible songwriter. No matter what guise Vince Clarke shows up in, you know that it's going to be absolute top quality. I really do feel he's one of the best that Britain's ever produced in terms of songwriting. Just an amazing musician, producer. He can do the lot. So favourite tracks, Only You, which was later covered by the Flying Pickets. I believe it went to #1 as well. An a cappella version of it, but Only You. And that's actually taken on a little bit more of a personal thing for me, because it was actually a song that was played at my best friend's wedding. So when I hear the song now, although I've always loved it, I always think of that day as well, because it was such a special day. And the opening track, Don't Go, is a classic as well. So you've got some really classic synth pop here, really great stuff. Powerhouse vocals from Alison Moyet and beautiful arrangements by Vince Clarke. So highly recommended, Upstairs at Eric's by Yazoo. Next, we've got, oh, there we go. That caught me out there. That was the back. We'll show you that anyway. So we've got XTC with English Settlement. Absolutely wonderful cover. Love that. So yeah, XTC are a band that they just astonish me. They really do. We're talking about, again, one of Britain's best bands. The journey that they've been on from their, it's sort of post-punk beginnings with this very herky-jerky kind of style, where Andy Partridge, the singer, used to compare his vocal stylings to that of a sea lion with a lot of barking, to this beautiful record that I hold in my hands now, this sort of very pastoral, a very English feel to it as well. It's just such a gentle album, lovely arrangements, great production, some really stellar tunes on here as well. So the very famous Senses Working Overtime is on this one, which is definitely one of my favourite ever songs by XTC. Ball and Chain, Jason and the Argonauts. There's some really cool songs on here. So let's see what else there is as well. I've probably named my favourites there. Runaways actually as well is a great one. So XTC are a band, if you're not familiar with them, that have created music in all kinds of different styles. But I feel that this is a good starting point actually. It's a double album, so it's a big listen, but very enjoyable all the same. This had to be in for 1982. Okay, a little sip of water here. Up next, we've got Roxy Music with Avalon. And that is, again, I mean, without wanting to sound like a broken record, you're going to see that a lot of these covers are just absolutely stunning. Before, when I was putting the albums together to compile, I was just marveling at how wonderful the cover art is on so many of these records. Just really well considered, beautiful concepts, and this being another one here, it's just such an enchanting cover. So we've got some beautiful songs on this one. So this is Roxy in their more, should we say, sophisticated. I mean, well, they've always been sophisticated. I mean, you know, a lot of people would say that Brian Ferry's sophistication personified along with the rest of the band. But what I mean by that is the sound became, I think, a little bit more languid, a little bit more smooth, perhaps. Certainly, earlier Roxy material is much more experimental. There's a lot more going on in terms of the mix and taking from maybe different sources. Where I feel this one is a little bit more mainstream, certainly very radio friendly, very commercial. But in terms of just quality songwriting and the sequencing of the album, I think it's a really fantastic addition to their discography. So favourites on here, I mean, More Than This, which is the opening track, is a Roxy classic, and then you've got the self-titled track as well, Avalon, beautiful tune. Actually, one that I'm partial to do on karaoke every now and again at family parties. I actually do quite a. I'm quite proud of my Avalon, so it's one that I do every now and again. And True to Life as well is one that I like. That's on side two. So Avalon by Roxy Music. Next up, we've got The Fun Boy 3 by The Fun Boy 3. There we go. There's the late Terry Hall there, just here. So yeah, formerly, so these guys formerly the Specials. I love the back, the way that they've used that concept to make it look like a poster for a movie. You know, just love how they've done that there with Fun Boy Scope, and they've got the co-stars here, Bananarama, when my fingers are tapping. So yeah, this is just a really enjoyable album. I really do like this one a lot. It's one that I do come back to a fair bit, and had to smile because there is a song on here called Sanctuary, and obviously now I'm the vinyl Sanctuary, which I thought was quite a nice little sort of serendipitous moment there that I'll be showing it today on my first ever video. And yeah, the Lunatics, Taking Over the Asylum, Faith, Hope and Charity. There's Oh, it ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it, which was a big hit with Bananarama there, very much front and centre. They would go on to have a huge career of their own. So yeah, this is an album that I do come back to a lot, and I just love the concept of the cover and everything. Okay, next up, got Dexys Midnight Runners with To Rye. Look at that. That's a striking image, isn't it? It's a brilliant album. Not listened to it for a long time actually, but favourite album tracks here, we've got Jackie Wilson Said, which very famously, when they appeared on Top of the Pops, there was a bit of a mix-up, shall we say, and they had Jockey Wilson, the Scottish darts player, as their background image rather than Jackie Wilson, which has gone down, I would say, now in British TV folklore as an unexpected moment, a comedic moment certainly, and very much a very memorable occasion for people that either saw it at the time or have watched it in subsequent years. But it's a great song. Come On Eileen, massive number one hit. I mean, obvious to say it, but it is my favourite Dexys track. Although I do love other songs from other albums as well, but for me personally, this is one of my favourites, and I do return to it a good bit. Let's Make This Precious as well as on here. So yeah, Dexys Midnight Runners, To Rye. Okay, so got a US group now. This is the Dream Syndicate, The Days of Wine and Roses. So as you can see from the rather large hype sticker, this is a reissue that's got all kinds of bonus tracks, and yeah, I mean, this is absolutely chock full of things here. It's got a Dream Syndicate EP with it. It's a 40th anniversary version of the album. So this is a really new, relatively new acquisition for me. It's one of my newer records in the collection. Fantastic album. Steve Wynn, um, the, the primary songwriter in the group. It was Kendra Smith on bass, who went on to form the band Opal with David Roback, who had been in the Rain Parade as well. And this band were very much part of a scene that was going on in California called the Paisley Underground. So these groups were taking their inspiration from all over the shop. Really, it was I'd say, the sort of the drone pop of the Velvet Underground, the sort of the country rock stylings of the Birds. There's a lot of garage rock in there, psychedelia. Um, it was a really interesting melting pot of stuff that was going on in the Paisley Underground. The sort of the power pop crunch of bands like Big Star, that type of thing, that was still very much a cult act back then. And they just mixed it all in, and there was such a huge outpouring of talent and creativity during those years. And the Dream Syndicate is definitely a group from that particular era that I do admire a lot. And this is an album that I'm very happy to have in the collection. I do need to play it a little bit more often. I have said that I do tend to come to these quite regularly, but I would say that of the lot so far, this one might be a little bit overlooked from me. So although I've heard it enough times to have purchased it, I do feel that it's definitely an album that I can spend even more time with. So that's The Day of Wine and Roses by the Dream Syndicate. Next up, incredibly famous group here, Fleetwood Mac, with Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks, and Christine McVie on the front, and then we've got Mick Fleetwood and John McVie on the back. So this cover is very famous because apparently where you can see Stevie and Lindsey locking hands, and try and point to it there. If you turn it this way, you can see that I'm an amateur here doing this. It's meant to resemble an old lady. I have read that a number of times, that the cover sort of took on this whole story of its own because of the knuckles or the hands creating this face. But I kind of see it. I do understand where that whole came from. I don't know the origins of who started that whole thing, but it is something that I can see. But I'm much more interested in the actual music on it, the content. So it's not my favourite Fleetwood Mac album, I have to be honest, but it is one that I feel has got enough good stuff on there for me to give it some attention. And certainly it warrants its place on the 1982 list. I do absolutely love Gypsy. That is definitely one of my favourite songs. I'm just talking as an overall album. I do think there are other Fleetwood Mac albums that I prefer and that I go back to a little bit more regularly. But Gypsy cannot be denied. Um, and as always with Fleetwood Mac albums, it sounds immaculate. It's, in my opinion, I think it's really well put together. And Lindsey Buckingham is a bit of a guitar hero of mine. So although there are other albums where maybe the guitar's a little bit more on display, I do just love the tone of what Lindsey plays, the way in which he approaches his work. It's always about what he doesn't play rather than what he plays, as far as I'm concerned, and I love that about him. He's just a great player. A group that I've always wanted to watch live, which sadly I wasn't able to, and now with the passing of Christine McVie, then that isn't going to be possible. But they're a band that I do enjoy immensely. I've got a lot of friends who are big Fleetwood Mac fans as well, so I do like to come back to them a lot. Mirage in particular is one that, although not one of my favourites, I do still give it its due and its time. So that's that one. Next up, we've got the Gun Club, Miami. Love that photograph. It's like obviously very whited out, but there's Jeffrey Lee Pierce at the front there. Yeah, these are a great band. I've really been into the Gun Club for some time now. Got into them via the Cramps actually, so I've been a huge Cramps fan for years, and then when I got wind of the fact that Kid Congo Powers, who had been in the Cramps, had also been in the Gun Club, he actually left the Gun Club to go and be in the Cramps. Then he came back to the Gun Club a bit later, and then he was in Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and things as well. joined up with Mr. Cave. But this is a great album. Really, really enjoy it. Carry Home, the opening track, I just think is outstanding. That's one of my favourite Gun Club songs. I do believe that this album was actually produced by Chris Stein from Blondie, and there is a connection there in that prior to Chris Stein working with the Gun Club, Jeffrey Lee Pierce, the founder, principal songwriter, the mastermind of the project, of the Gun Club, he was actually the president of the Blondie fan club. So there is a bit of a history there prior to Chris Stein getting on board. But yeah, these are a band who, if you're into sort of certainly your alternative rock, garage rock, psychobilly even, which is where the kind of the Cramps reference comes in. They've just got a really unique sound. They kind of take the blues and cowpunk and lots of different elements, and again just put them into a big melting pot, and then it comes out as something baked and something very, very tasty and very, very, very Gun Club. So definitely worth checking out. I would also recommend the album Fire of Love by the Gun Club as well, which was the album that came out prior to this one. But this is their effort from 1982, Miami, the Gun Club. Okay, next up we've got The Gift by The Jam. And I have my brother to thank for my love of The Jam. He was an absolutely huge Jam fan. He still is to this day, but boy did he love The Jam. I mean, he loved a lot of other bands as well, but the Jam were his jam. He just loved them so much, and I remember him telling me about how emotional it was for him and a lot of his friends when the band split. They very much split at the peak of their success. I think it was Paul Weller's intention that the band was to go out on a high. And I'd be interested to know what people think in the comments, because I feel that a lot of people maybe consider The Gift to be the Jam's maybe weakest or weaker albums of the ones which they put out. I'm not sure where I sit with that, because I do think there's a lot of great stuff on here. I might have to do a Jam ranking actually at some point, and it'd be interesting for me to sit down and really have a think about where I feel The Gift comes into the mix. But that's a conversation for another day. But favourite songs on here: Precious, I Love, Just Who Is the 5 O'Clock Hero, and obviously Town Called Malice is just an absolute classic. Every time I hear that bass line, I just want to, that intro, I just want to get up and dance, and have very fond memories of hearing this blasting out of my brother's bedroom. And he had God, he had so much memorabilia. We had all kinds of stuff regarding the Jam. His favourite song out of interest is English Rose, which is on the album All Mod Cons. But yeah, I really, really do enjoy this album a lot, and it had to be here for 82. So that's The Jam with The Gift. There's the rear of it as well. Okay, going back to talking about fabulous artwork, as a lot of these albums have had. This one is stunning in the artwork here. We've got the Associates with Sulk, Scottish band, got Billy Mackenzie and Alan Rankin, both sadly no longer with us. Alan Rankin passing away last year. He was the multi-instrumentalist. And then in Billy Mackenzie, you had an absolute generational talent as far as his vocals went. He was an extraordinary singer, and I don't use that word lightly. It's certainly not hyperbole or anything that this guy could sing. He really could. Absolutely fantastic, operatic, a wonderful control with the voice, but could also just let it all go to town when he wanted to as well. Really, really compelling pop songs, very skewed in terms of musicality, and you never quite knew where they were going to come from. So a lot of experimentation to the Associates, but also a commercial appeal as well, which helped them to break through. So this album contains, I'm just going to double check it is on it. Yes, it is, Party Phase 2. Now, definitely my favourite song by the Associates, but what really, really struck me is that for years and years, certainly when I was younger, I always thought that when he was singing Party Phase 2, that he was actually singing about him turning up at a party, as in a social gathering, and causing trouble, and that the people at the party would be fearing him showing up, because he sings in the lyrics about throwing cups and things like that. And I used to think when I was a lot younger that this is really interesting. He's singing about causing mayhem at a party. And in actual fact, it only dawned on me years later when I got a bit older and a bit wiser. He's actually referring to himself as in a party, a person. So we have third parties and things like that. So he's actually singing about that he fears a relationship. He fears the party, i.e., him, singular, becoming two. And when that dawned on me, the whole essence of the song just changed. And when I heard the lyrics again, I was like, right, see where he's coming from now, because he's not showing up, wreaking havoc at somebody's house. He's actually talking about a fear of commitment. So it's interesting sometimes when words and lyrics and things and meanings can be a little bit misinterpreted, and then you can experience a piece of work or art in one way and then go back and it just completely changes everything. So that's just a little bit of an anecdote there on my experience of Party Phase 2. Brilliant song, big hit for the group, classic piano line in there. It's also got club country on here as well, which is fantastic. I mean, every single song on here, Skipping as well, is one that I do remember fondly. I really should give this a spin sometime soon. I might even do a review on it at some point. But yeah, it's the back cover. Really lovely album to have. My copy's a little bit beaten up, but it plays perfectly well. I hope that I'm holding these up as well through the video, that you can see them properly and that I'm doing them justice. I know I'm having to cover my face up quite a bit to do it, but it's probably no bad thing. So there we go with that. Okay, next up, another classic, British pop, got ABC with the Lexicon of Love. I mean, that cover, again, I mean, it just tells a story. It really, really does. Martin Fry there being very suave, very sophisticated, almost like in secret agent mode there. James Bond vibes off that with the damsel in distress. Yeah, I mean, what can I say about it? The Lexicon of Love, it's got such a huge reputation, and deservedly so. Band from Sheffield. It's just pure sophistication on vinyl, but the songs really hold up. Just really, really great, smooth British 80s pop. It captivated, I think, the nation in terms of everybody knew of them. I mean, I can't say for certainty if everybody was a fan, but everybody knew about them. Songs like The Look of Love, All of My Heart, Poison Arrow, they were all hits for the group. But it's just got such a great concept to the record. It's the flow of it. You do feel like you're on a journey when you listen to it, and I just feel that it's definitely a 5-star album, I would say, and I do think it deserves all of the plaudits. I think one of the greatest achievements of the Lexicon of Love was the way that it was able to appeal to many people with differing musical tastes. There seemed to be this crossover where, even though maybe this might on paper not have been the type of music that certain people would listen to, I think when it was given a chance, it just resonated or struck a chord that was just magical in some way. So I actually think that they were picking up fans from different well, not cultures, that's not the correct word, but maybe different sort of musical tribes. They were just picking up people here and there who were just on board with what they were about and what they were trying to achieve. The lyrical wordplay as well. Some of the lyrics in here are fantastic. So if you're not aware of ABC or you're not aware of this album, I would definitely urge you to check it out. It's a brilliant document of the 80s, and a really fine album. Okay, so having gone from ABC, we're going to something now a little bit, I would say, probably falls into the cult bracket, to be honest. Although the chap who's the mastermind of this particular album is probably bigger now than he's ever been before, and that band is Felt. Now, I'm a huge fan of Felt. I'll tell you a little bit more about Felt maybe another time, but because there's a lot to get into there with Lawrence, who is the mastermind of Felt, the founder. Very interesting chap. I think he's a bit of a genius personally. So this album here is called Crumbling, the Antiseptic Beauty. and it was released on Cherry Red. Now I actually have two copies of this record. I've got this copy here that I'm holding up, where you can see very, very clearly a black bar that's been put, that's intersecting his face and obscuring that side of his face. But then I also have a copy here, which is an earlier pressing, where you can see his whole face. Now, I don't know the background behind this, and I would love to know what that's about in terms of why the record was reissued with that black bar across that side of his face. So if anybody does happen to know that, please do pop it in the comments, because it's something that has intrigued me for such a long time. It's a great album. That's the back cover there, and that's the same on that one as well. So they didn't change that bit. Sorry about the glare there. So yeah, a little bit more about Felt. So just very, very briefly, Lawrence is the founder. He is Felt in a lot of regards, but he's worked with some incredible musicians such as Martin Duffy, who went on to be a member of Primal Scream. He was an incredible pianist and organist, and also a guitar player called Maurice Deebank as well, who is a hugely talented guitar player. Martin Duffy wasn't in the group at this stage. This was way before Martin joined, but Maurice is on here. Some of his guitar playing is just exquisite. He's got a tone, clean, no distortion. I hear a lot of Vinnie Riley in his playing. Vinnie Riley being from the Drutty column, bit of Hank Marvin influence in there. And I know that one of Lawrence's favourite ever groups was Television, and I hear quite a lot of Tom Verlaine and Richard Lloyd on this record in terms of the interplay between Lawrence and Morris's guitar. Now, Lawrence does not, and I think it's fair to say, play to a level of either Verlaine or Lloyd, but he has got what he does do, he does incredibly well. He's more about keeping the rhythm, keeping the beat, and then Morris has got the freedom to express himself. And the band Felt, the actual name Felt, that comes from the past tense to feel, which is taken from a television song. I believe it was Venus de Milo, where that word is sang very emphatically by Tom Verlaine, and that is where Lawrence took the name for the band Felt. So yeah, Crumbling the Antiseptic Beauty. It's quite a short record. Pretty much instrumental. There's a couple of tracks with vocals, but Evergreen Dazed, the opener, is beautiful. That's an instrumental track. Cathedral's lovely. I Worship the Sun, Fortune, that has got vocals on, but a really lovely album. But yeah, if anybody knows anything more about that changing cover, I'd love to know. Okay, next up we've got The Nightfly by Donald Fagen. Donald Fagen of Steely Dan fame. So yeah, I mean, this is another record that's considered one of the greats of the era. Ruby Baby is my favourite on here by some way. Although I do really enjoy the title track, The Nightfly, as well. Trying to remember which other. Oh, Maxine. I do think I like Maxine. I might be mixing that up though with another one. I've not heard that one for a while, but played it a lot many years ago. So you'd think it would be ingrained in my brain, but I'm getting a bit older now, so I might have to refresh myself with the Nightfly. To be honest, I do love this record a great deal, but if I'm ever going to listen to Donald Fagen more often than not, I do go back to Steely Dan, because I just pretty much adore every album, certainly in that 1970s run that they had, that they put out. But again, this is an album that does get a lot of plaudits, and deservedly so. It's immaculately produced, it's very smooth, it's got a real jazzy vibe to it. Again, that front cover is just a classic, isn't it? Says so much there with the story within the concept. Just very, very simple there as well in terms of the rendering of his name and the album title. So that's the shot on the back. You have to excuse the sticker there at the top. That just refused to come off. Purchased this copy over in Germany, and I've tried to get that off, and at the top corner there, and very, very persistent. So I've just left it. I mean, thankfully it's on the plastic. It's not actually on the it's not on the record itself, thankfully. So that's really, really good. Sometimes that can happen. But yeah, that might be one that I revise and refresh myself with a little bit actually. It must be, gosh, it's a while since I played it, but reputationally and from what I do remember of it, it certainly warranted its place on the list here. Although again, I'm maybe not going back to that one as often as some of the others on here, but you know that can always be remedied. So the Nightfly, Donald Fagen. That's a very striking picture. Yeah, piece of art. So that's Imperial Bedroom by Elvis Costello and the Attractions. Big Elvis Costello fan. It's, there they are on the back there. Elvis there looking a little bit glum. Really like those pictures though. So yeah, favorite on here has to be Man Out of Time. I mean, it's a great album start to finish, but yeah, Man Out of Time's the one that actually lives long in my memory. Tears Before Bedtime as well, Beyond Belief, the opening track. Little Savage as well. It's just one of these albums that its reputation has grown and grown. I mean, and I know it was, I believe anyway that it was received very positively at the time. I think critically, perhaps with certain members of the music press, but there was just a period where Elvis Costello just was cranking out five-star albums. I mean, I've got a lot of his in my collection: Blood and Chocolate, This Year's Model, My Aim Is True, Spike. Get Happy. Gosh, I mean, I've got quite a lot of Elvis stuff. Trust as well, Almost Blue, and they all have the merits. And what I do love about Elvis, I think I used it earlier to describe Susie actually, is he's a musical magpie. He takes inspiration from so many different genres of music, and whatever he turns his hand to, he just seems to succeed, and he does it in a really effective way. It never feels like he's sort of going through the motions with it, or it's sort of contrived or derivative or anything like that. He just seems to have such a wide passion for so many different types of music. And if he feels like doing a country album, he'll do one. If he wants to do something a bit more experimental or classic singer-songwriter stuff, sort of piano-led ballads, whatever it is he wants to do, post-punk, he's done the lot. He really has. So he's another person that I've always wanted to watch live. Haven't caught him yet, but I would love to watch him. And I think a little bit of interesting trivia on this one is that I believe the American author Bret Easton Ellis, who's the author of American Psycho, I think, interestingly, that Imperial Bedroom, I think I read it once, might be his all-time favorite album. So I always found that quite intriguing that Bret Easton Ellis was a big fan of this album. So if anyone wants to validate that or confirm that in the comments or anything, then please do let me know. But I'm kind of pulling that from somewhere in the back of my mind, that Bret Easton Ellis, as are many other people, a big fan, not only of Elvis Costello but of this album as well. Okay, next up we've got Marshall Crenshaw, self-titled album. Very vivid colours. It's like sort of all these little pastel shades and things there, the pinks, the purple, the yellow. Really striking cover. So for me, this is like pure power pop. Really, this is a really enjoyable album. Quite a brief listen as well. Just really cool sort of. There is a bit of a 60s influence, would say, on there, 50s, 60s influence. Sort of not rockabilly as such, but it's definitely more in the power pop vein. But just lovely harmonies, crunchy guitars, really sort of chunky rhythm section and that type of thing, and just really enjoyable stuff. Really good music. There She Goes Again, opening track. My favourite on here is make sure I'm reading it properly. Yeah, Someday Some Way. Someday Some Way. Yeah, that's the one that sticks in my head. That's a really catchy one. And oh yeah, Mary Ann as well, side two. Yeah, that was a really good one. So there's this is just, if you're after something that's kind of quite, I certainly wouldn't call it throwaway. It's certainly not. I mean, they're really well crafted, beautiful songs, but something that's a little bit light, something that's not too heavy going, a bit breezy and enjoyable, put a smile on your face, then I would go for Marshall Crenshaw. Okay, next up, got The Dreaming by Kate Bush. And what I love in particular about this sleeve is the story that it tells. So as we can see, the chap here, who I call Harry, um, has got the chains around him, a la Harry Houdini. And then Kate there is about to give him a kiss, and she's going to slip the key there to him so that he can get out of those chains when he is going on to perform his escapology act. So already with the cover, we've got this story going on, which I just found really intriguing from the moment that I first saw it. So yeah, this is a great. I mean, obviously the track Houdini is on here, so that alludes to the cover. Then we've got The Dreaming itself, the opening track on here again. Leave It Open, Suspended in Gaffer, and then as it says here on the back as well, with the kiss I'd passed the key. So even before you've turned it round and read that, you can just see that there's a story going on. There's a concept for the album. So yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Kate Bush fan, admire her a great deal, wonderful songwriter, one of Britain's finest. So I would recommend The Dreaming very much in her discography and as an album of this year. Okay, conscious of time as well, so may have gone a little bit longer than I thought, but I'll crack on. So this is the last record before I get to the top five. So this is the Dead Kennedys, and the album is Plastic Surgery Disasters. This my copy here's got the original booklet in there as well. Yeah, hardcore punk from California, very fiery album. Um, Absolutely bristling with anger, with polemic. Jello Biafra, the singer, has got a lot to say in terms of social commentary. Government Flu, Terminal Preppy, great tracks. There's some wonderful sort of surf style guitar playing going on by East Bay Ray, and then you've got Klaus Fluoride there on bass. Some of his work on here is tremendous, and DH Pellegrino on drums as well. I believe it is Pellegrino, yeah, on his Pellegrino on this one. Just a brilliant album. I do listen to Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables more often than this one, but a lot of people actually think this might be the more consistent album. Although Fresh Fruit, the debut, has some really outstanding Dead Kennedys tracks on there, such as Holding Cambodia and California Uberales. But this is a really great album as well. Halloween, um, there's some really strong songs on here, so I would definitely give that a try if you're not familiar with it. Okay, so now we're into the ones that I'd like to rank. So I'll move pretty quickly here. I think one of these might be a tie actually. So yes, there is one of them's a tie, so there may be six to show rather than five. So at number five, I've got The Blue Mask by Lou Reed. So there you can see the cover art is from 1972 Transformer. This was released 10 years later, obviously rendered in blue. Wonderful band he had together for this one with Robert Quine, who'd been in Richard Hell and the Voidoids on guitar. Later went on to work with Lloyd Cole, Matthew Sweet. He's on guitar here, Fernando Saunders on bass, and Dwayne Perry on drums. Brilliant band that Lou had. Lou was back on guitar playing duty here as well. There is some beautiful guitar interplay between Quine and Reed, with one channel inhabiting the output there. Sorry, losing my words a bit there. One channel with Reed coming out and Quine the other. Some really beautiful interplay, and yeah, favourite songs on here. I love Women. The second track is called Women. My House, the opener, is really pretty. Sets the scene. Lou enjoying domestic bliss with Sylvia. That was his partner there at the time, after his relationship with Rachel had come to an end. But yeah, I really love pretty much every track on here, even Average Guy as well, which is a little bit more throwaway. It does make me smile. But the title track itself is just absolutely, it's a storming song. Really, really vivid imagery. Lou using a really aggressive voice on there, one that's not his typical sort of "I love women." He's a little bit more of a, not as much sing speak on the title track. He's really going for it from the gut. Quite a primal sound, which kind of catches you off guard if you're not used to Lou singing in that way. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favourite Lou Reed albums, and it had to be here for 82, and it's in my top five. Okay, so at number four, I've got Pornography by The Cure. So this is The Cure very much in their, should we say, sort of goth phase, if that's, if we can, sort of say that in a way, in terms of the sound that they were producing. But I mean, The Cure again, like Susie, Elvis Costello, they can just turn their hands to whatever they choose to do. I mean, they've made albums in so many different genres that it's pretty lazy to just kind of really pigeonhole the Cure as being one type of band. They're just the Cure, in terms of the sound anyway. They can do it all. They've done jangle pop. They've done the post punk stuff. They've done the type of thing on here. Um, they really are just a wonderful, wonderful band. Robert Smith is a unique, singular talent, and Pornography is a lot of people's favorite Cure album, or it's one that I would say is ranked very, very highly. It's not my favorite Cure album. That was to come 7 years later from this one, but yeah, the great songs on here. 100 Years, the opener there. It's just making sure I can read them properly because it's very small. But oh yeah, the Hanging Garden. Wow, yeah, the percussion on that one is absolutely stellar. But yeah, a very, very special group. And if you're new to The Cure and you're looking for something that's a little bit darker, a little bit more experimental, maybe in some respects in that genre, then this could be a good starting point. But you can't really go wrong with a lot of Cure albums. But this definitely takes its place for 1982. So that's definitely within my top five. Next up, we've got Simple Minds with New Gold Dream, 81, 82, 83, 84. And this one is tied here for third place with the next one I'm going to show you. Brilliant pop, great band. This was during the era when I was really, really into Simple Minds. I kind of maybe from Once Upon a Time onwards, perhaps not as familiar, maybe not as interested as I was. But these earlier records, when they were experimenting with so many different genres of music and taking from different places, really had me fascinated. And this is a great album. Someone Somewhere in Summertime, opening track, love that one. Glittering Prize is just a great, great pop song. Um, I Promise You a Miracle, of course, is on here as well. Um, yeah, I mean, this is an album that I feel for a lot of people is their favourite Simple Minds album, or if not, it's certainly in and amongst there. I mean, you've got the earlier ones such as Real to Real Cacophony, Sons of Fascination, um, as the debut album there as well. So this is an album where I feel that what they were aiming for, what they were striving for, was starting to come together. And it's just prior to Sparkle in the Rain where they really sort of moved into that more sort of stadium rock territory, maybe sort of going into a realm that was more in keeping with the likes of U2 and that type of thing. But for me, there's just a really nice mixture here of experimentation and pop, and Jim Kerr on vocals just sounds really, really inspired. And I just think it's an album that really, really does warrant particular mention and anyone's time and attention. And then tying with that one in third place, I've got Strawberries by the Damned. Just a really striking image there again. So yeah, the Damned, again, bit of a theme going on here, but here's another group that can mix it up with the best of them. Obviously broke out in the in the punk scene, but they've gone on to produce all types of different styles as well, not dissimilar to The Cure in that way. But Stranger on the Town on this one, I absolutely love. It's just got such a swinging vibe to it. Just the do 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 do. Just love how it starts. Love how it unfolds. Dozen Girls I enjoy as well. Life Goes On, which is the track that's got the guitar riff in it that's sort of, that may or may not have come before or influenced or whatever it was, 80s by Killing Joke, that then went on to inspire Come As You Are by Nirvana. There's a bit of a lineage going on there with that particular guitar riff. If anyone's got a bit more information on that, please feel free to let me know. Ignite, wow, what an opening track that is as well. Some absolutely fantastic guitar histrionics there from Captain Sensible, who I don't feel gets his due as a guitar player. I think he's a wonderful player. I really think that he's somebody who does go under the radar as far as guitar players are concerned. But all the band are on top form here. Rat Scabies always providing wonderful drum parts. Then you've got, Dave Vanian on vocals. So this is an album where it's a bit of a mixture, I think, musically, but there's a real identity to the record, and it's definitely one of my favourite Damned albums as well. So that had to be in here as well. So that is my number 3. That's tied with Simple Minds. Number 2, for 1982, we've got 1999 by Prince, my favourite artist of all time, with my favourite band of all time being Manic Street Preachers. So yeah, Prince, well, what can you say? I mean, everything's pretty much been said, hasn't it, about Prince and what he achieved in his lifetime, but this is his first double album. 1999, Little Red Corvette, Delirious, that's side 1. So Little Red Corvette there, huge hit on MTV, as was 1999, showing that he could out Springsteen, the boss himself. Little Red Corvette, Let's Pretend We're Married, DMSR, Automatic. Automatic's almost got like a bit of a sort of a Gary Newman feel to it, like almost influenced by that. Free is a really lovely ballad. Then you've got International Lover, which closes the album, which is one of his best slow jams. All the Critics Love You in New York. There isn't a single track on here that I don't like, but there is just one album that I do prefer more that came out in 1982. But this is one of Prince's very best. This was an opening of the floodgates. He'd already demonstrated what he could do with the likes of Controversy, which was the album that came directly before this one, Dirty Mind, the self-titled album, and then his debut For You. We knew that by this stage, the world was learning about a very special talent. Could do it all. He really could. My favourite ever performer live as well. Had the pleasure of watching him 3 times before he sadly passed away in 2016. But 1999, wonderful album and highly recommended. So you're probably wondering what could possibly have topped it for me. Well, fact of the matter is that this album, it just lives in my heart. It was an album that I listened to a lot during a particular period of my life. Helped me get through my university studies as well. Many years ago, I pretty much listened to it all the time when I was revising and working on dissertations and projects and you name it. So it's just an album that I've just got a lot of love for, and the person, the principal songwriter behind the record is somebody that I'm just in awe of. I hold in the highest regard. A very inspirational figure to me personally, and a wonderful songwriter. And that album is my number 1 for 1982 is You Can't Hide Your Love Forever by Orange Juice. Love that front cover. I just love this album. I just really do. Falling and laughing. Remember the first time I ever heard it, I just had a big smile on my face. That's the opening track. You Must Think Me Very Naive. Well, maybe that's true. It's the opening line of it. Just caught me straight away with that very distinctive vocal of his, Edwyn Collins, obviously who I'm talking about. One Light, love that one. There's a cover of Love, Love, the album. So Tender Object is on here as well. And I just can't say enough about this album. I just think it's brilliant. Felicity as well is one of my favourite songs on here, which was covered by The Wedding Present, another band that I've got a lot of time for. And then it finishes off with a really pretty tune called In a Nutshell. So this is definitely my favourite album for 1982. I've got so much love for it, and the utmost admiration for Edwyn Collins and everybody who was involved in creating the record. So You Can't Hide Your Love Forever. Just a really lovely combination of styles. consolation prize is on here, which is great as well. It's even got like a bit of a blondie feel to it, certainly towards that lovely outro at the end. So really, really great album. One that I think will always be my number one for 1982. So Orange Juice, You Can't Hide Your Love Forever, one of Scotland's greatest ever albums in my opinion. And that's the lot. So thank you very, very much indeed for being here. I really, really appreciate your time. I hope that you enjoyed that. That was my own little run through 1982. And as I mentioned earlier, if there are any records that you would have there in your list, please do let me know. Let me have a look at your comments and by posting them for me and our fellow community members as well. And we can start some really, really good conversations. So really, really appreciate you being there. And if you like what you saw today and you'd like to see some future content from me, then please do consider subscribing to the channel. I'd really, really appreciate that. And you can click the little bell for notifications as well as and when I'm going live and my next project is landing. So I have got an idea for my next project. I'm going to keep that under wraps for now, but it will be a ranking video of an artist, and I think it will be one that I have mentioned in this video today. So we'll wait and see how that one goes. I'll have to go away and listen to the albums again so that I can get the ranking into the correct sequence and take it from there. So until then, take care everybody. Thanks again for being here, really appreciate it, and bye for now.